So welcome everybody. Um, Thank you all for being here. Appreciate you. Cameras on is the preference, but it's okay. Make sure you have a pencil and paper because we're going to be, doing some exploring as we go through tonight. So this is meant to be a casual, kind of like a hangout, and I'm going to do this regularly on Wednesday night with a regular group of students, whoever's interested, and we're going to explore a wide variety of topics. And I'm calling it Enlightened Vibes because I just want it to be a place where you hang out, spend some positive time, don't feel under pressure, just relax. I'm not going to quiz anybody. And, if you do leave or get distracted, turn your camera off. I understand. We're going to be here for probably a good part of 2 hours. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Alan Gordon. I have been studying enlightenment probably since I was a kid, but really much more seriously starting about 15 years ago, coinciding with when a lot of these enlightenment books started to become available, a lot of web pages and secret information that, you'd have to study in some Buddhist monastery for 30 years to learn. Now these books started to become public. So I've been studying them very closely for about 15 years, I would say. Um, I've studied 6 systems of enlightenment. I won't bore you with the names of the 6, but there's 6 systems that are all focused specifically on enlightening their followers, on specifically getting their followers to a state of higher consciousness. And so rather than going through any one of these traditions for 20 or 30 years, getting stuck in a tradition, I have tried to learn as much as I can about each tradition and try to get rid of all the cultural stuff and the language stuff and get right to the core of what these traditions are teaching, the core enlightenment teachings. And so what I've been able to do, and learning over time, I get better over time. The way I present it changes a little bit over time as I learn more and as I teach it and find out what works and doesn't work in terms of people's understanding. I have distilled this wisdom, the kernel of all this wisdom, into what I call 7 different paths of enlightenment. Let me share my screen here. We are here. So these are the 7 paths of enlightenment that I'm talking about. And why is there more than one? Because everybody's a little bit different. Some people are really, really good at meditating. Some people are awful at meditating. They just can't do it. They literally, it's like they're like the 4th grader who has ADD. Their butt's on a spring. As soon as they sit down in class, they stand right back up again. That's the way a lot of people are with meditation. And despite their honest best efforts, they just struggle with it. So I used to teach one path. That was the path of maybe a couple of these, the path of balance and the path of moral character, the path of conscious creator. But I realized that there are 7. You can look at these like colors in the rainbow. They complement one another. If you don't have time to really devote your whole life to this study, and it doesn't really require, that you devote every hour of the day to the study, but it does require, a little bit of consistent effort. If you want to, you could just pick one of these and just get really, really good at one of these systems, as opposed to trying to master them all. But over time, and when I say over time, I mean over months and years, over the coming months, over the coming years, I want you to really start to explore all of these areas. This will make you kind of a complete person. For example, well, what we're going to talk about tonight is the path of balance. I promised in the meditation class, for those of you that have taken the meditation class, I promised that we would go through the path of balance. That doesn't mean we're not going to talk about the other things and intersperse them, but we are, over the course of a couple of Wednesdays, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 Wednesdays from now, we're going to go through each time through a little bit more on the path of balance. That is a direct path to enlightenment. And by enlightenment, I mean higher understanding, inner peace, a recognition of your, light, your inner light, a recognition of who you really are, your true identity. That's the path of balance. It's the most direct path to enlightenment, and it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful system, and I think you'll love it. And it pulls teachings from 3 or 4 different enlightenment traditions. The path of health is like a bank shot. See, in order to get healthier, you have to develop your inner awareness. And as your inner awareness grows, your health gets better. And as your health gets better, your inner awareness grows. So it's a path to not only to make yourself healthy, which is, I believe, the primary purpose of being here on this earth. You got to keep yourself healthy. You have to be healthy, otherwise you're no good to anybody else. So you've got to be healthy, but at the same time, it does lead to an expanded state of inner awareness. The path of inner radiance is a beautiful Taoist teaching based, as we were just talking, on the secret of the golden flower, an ancient Taoist text that was written about 1200 years ago. Beautiful teaching. And that is going to give you energy. It's really focused on energetic health and, well, inner radiance, light flowing through your body. It's a beautiful, enlightened teaching, taught, by the way, by one of perhaps the most enlightened person that's ever walked the face of the earth. His name was Lu Dongbin. If you study Chinese culture at all, you would know that the Chinese honor what they call the eight immortals. And the eight immortals all lived back in, from 900 to 1200 or 1100, in the 200 or 300 year history of China. That's when was the flower of Chinese civilization. And there are eight immortals, eight enlightened immortals. Lu Dongbin, the author of The Secret of the Golden Flower, is the leader of the highest of the eight immortals. And he wrote this little book. It's less than 30 pages when it's translated into English. And it is just mind-blowing. I've been studying it for about 12 years, never really understood it. And then I just had a breakthrough a few months ago where I just flipped the lens how I was looking at it. And all of a sudden, the whole thing made sense. And I want to share that with people. And I also am working on a book. Just started that book called The Path of Inner Radiance. So I have a lot to say about that, a lot to teach about that, and it's really going to be helpful for you. Then there's the path of moral character. Just being enlightened doesn't make you a good person. You can still be sarcastic. You could be, it doesn't make you healthy, right? You can be enlightened, but you're overweight. You could be enlightened, but you're sick. You can be enlightened, but you're a jerk. You say sarcastic things. I don't know if you're truly enlightened if you do those things, but moral character is essential. I think it's the core of our being, what values we stand for, the values and principles that we stand for. The main text there is going to be the book that Jen was just talking about, The Cycle of Mind. If you don't have it, I recommend you get the actual book, not the Audible, so you can hold the book in your hands. It's one of those kinds of books. It's not like reading a story. It's a workbook, and it's best to have it as a reference. Then there's the path of compassion. I call it the path of kindness and generosity, just to break compassion into two separate things. And that is also your moral character, but there's enough special writings in Enlightenment history about compassion that I think it deserves its own path. And there are some people who just are very drawn to this idea of compassion. And so I think that's a separate path of enlightenment. Then there's the path of conscious creator, the James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, Bob Proctor, The Secret, things like that. We're going to really bring all of that together. And we're going to explore the path of conscious creation. Again, there we're going to reference the Cycle of Mind book. And then there's the path that I call the 7 levels of light. That is a teaching that is a really ancient teaching. It's at least 15,000 years old. It's probably, who knows where they got it from. I don't even understand how anyone could have known this, but there's no writing. It was long before writing. Sanskrit is only 3,500 years old. This is not in writing. And it's a beautiful, beautiful teaching that I'll go through at some point. But we're really well, here's what I wanted to say. The first 3 paths are interrelated. They have a lot in common. In fact, the first 3 steps, which I'll talk about today in the path of balance, are the same first 3 steps as the path of inner radiance. So if you start along this path, you're going to be well positioned to go through both of these systems, and they are interrelated. You don't have to do one, finish one, and then come back to the other. We can kind of intersperse them as we go. The second 3 are also interrelated. They tend to relate to making changes within yourself, habits, character traits, values, understanding how to not only control mind, but to control your own behaviors, to control your own attitudes, to control your own mindset and whatnot. So let's talk just a little bit, well, not a little bit, but today we're going to talk about the path of balance. This pulls from multiple enlightenment routines. Now, there are some people here who I know have not been to the Sunday meditation class. Some of you have, some of you haven't. So I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm going to start with these first two, the art of disengaging and the art of lingering. So if, and by the way, I'll post this in our Discord community, the 7 paths. If you didn't capture all that, that's fine. If just ask me and we'll post them. The first step on the path of balance, which is the most direct path to enlightenment, is the idea of disengaging. Disengaging. And what disengagement means is your mind, and we're going to practice this, right? Your mind is like a train. It just keeps going. You ever count the cars on a train? They just keep going and going and going. That's your mind. It just keeps going and going and going. It's more than just a train of thought. It just keeps going. Sometimes you'll hum a tune to yourself. You'll sing to yourself. All these things going on in your head. These are unconscious ramblings that are happening all the time. The art of disengaging is something, well, you'll do it during your formal meditation sessions, but the real power of the art of disengaging is during the day, throughout the day, at all times during the day. And you don't have to be in an agitated mood. It helps if you're in an agitated mood to disengage, by all means. If you're with your kids and you're playing with your kids, you can disengage. You can disengage. I'll talk about the story. But essentially, disengaging means simply stopping right there. The next thought's over here, but I'm not going to that thought. I'm just disengaging. Do it right now. You can do it with your eyes open. You don't have to be meditating. It's like you're decoupling the train. You know, the way those trains are connected to each other. You're just pulling just letting it go. It's not me anymore. Stop. Now, this art of disengaging is really important because imagine the sky above you, dark clouds all around to all horizons, just dark, dark clouds. Disengaging is like poking a hole in the clouds and letting your light through. It's a moment of clarity, a moment of control, a moment of clarity, a moment of peace. You're just disengaging from whatever's coming next, and you're just being peaceful in that moment. Like poking a hole in the clouds and a little bit of light shines through. That makes sense? A moment of clarity. So I'll give you an example of when a moment of clarity came to me. So there's two things. These moments of clarity are going to come to you, and then you're going to learn how to create them yourself. So you got to do both. You got to recognize when it's happening, and you also have to learn how to create a moment of clarity for yourself whenever you want to. Okay. So I'm at the park with my kids. We have about a half a mile walk from my house. I have two grandsons, 5 years old, 7 years old. So I'm walking with them to the park. Oh gosh, get out of the middle of the street, get out of the street. This car's coming, stay to the side of the road. I'm outer focused. I'm outer focused. I'm on the kids. I'm responsible. They can't get run over. Then my wife will be upset at me. Nothing bad. I'm in charge, right? So I'm outer focused. We walk to the park. Everything they do. It's getting me all agitated. Don't do that. Stay in the, don't touch that, all that stuff. Anyway, we get to the park and now I'm watching them play. I'm sitting on the bench and I'm watching them play. Hey, be careful up there. Let him have a turn. Hey, great job, guys. I like the way you did that. What about the slide? I'm talking to them and I'm enjoying them playing. But again, outer focused, unconscious, unconscious. All of a sudden, I'm sitting there a couple of minutes into this, and this feeling of peace just came to me. And I said, wow, what a beautiful life I have to be able to watch my two beautiful grandchildren play. Just a moment of clarity. And you know what I did? I picked up my phone and started scrolling. Maybe I had a new email. Maybe I had a TikTok video I wanted to watch. What? I just killed my own moment of clarity. I had a moment of clarity. Has that ever happened to anybody? You're just, something's happening. Just a clarity. I see what's going on. I'm not lost in the verbal stuff. I'm not wordifying everything. I'm just enjoying whatever just happened, right? Okay, so you have this moment of clarity, then you kill it and you go back on the train of thoughts. The second aspect on the path to balance, the first one is to learn to disengage. I like that. First one is to disengage. The second item on the path to balance is learning to linger in the moment of clarity, the art of lingering. So I felt this, right? No, I said I ruined it, but of course it came back. I thought about it and I had another moment of clarity with my grandkids, but the art of lingering is essential because now I can say, wow, what a beautiful opportunity for me to be with my grandkids. Look how healthy they are. Look how healthy I feel. What a beautiful day. Look at this park. Look at the trees swaying in the wind. What a perfect day. What a beautiful park. What a beautiful world we live in. I'm lingering in it. I'm blissing out over this experience. So, using the analogy of the clouds, the moment of clarity is like poking a little hole and letting the light in. Lingering is like making it bigger, making the hole bigger. So now I'm letting more of my light in. I'm letting more of my inner world in, and I'm experiencing more. So if you learn the art of creating moments of clarity, the art of disengaging, you can poke more holes in the clouds. And then if you learn the art of lingering, you can make the holes bigger and bigger and bigger until after a few days, a few weeks, a few months, this inner world, this clarity starts to become your default. And that's what we're trying to accomplish. We're not trying, everyone says, oh, meditation. Meditation is just a thing you do for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, however long you do it. It's just a thing. Meditation isn't enlightenment. Enlightenment is being in these moments of clarity more and more and more, and then learning how to behave in those moments of clarity, right? So the goal is to linger, to bliss out in it. All right. Makes sense so far? That makes sense, right? You've experienced the moments of clarity, I'm sure. And you've also probably cut off your own moments of clarity just because we have a habit, got to reach for the phone, got to do, we have our habits, right? So we just go back to the habit or, whatever. Sometimes I'll be watching television. I have a moment of clarity and I'll just put it on pause. This is why my wife can't watch television with me. I'll just put it on pause because I don't care what they're talking about. Something was going on in my head and I had a moment of clarity. I will pause and I'll just linger in it. I'll think through it, whatever the problem was, whatever this idea that I had, I'll just think through it. I'll just give myself peace and space to think through. Art of disengaging, the art of lingering. Now, when you linger, what I was just talking about was blissing out, right? I didn't quiet my mind, right? Okay, I felt this moment of clarity. I didn't quiet my mind. I just gave my mind a new train of thought, positive, optimistic, healthy, beautiful, blissful, inner world, peaceful, balanced, all good stuff, abundant. What a beautiful world we live in. Let me take a deep breath. Ah, what a beautiful breath. Yeah, just beautiful. I'm enjoying it, right? So that's one thing you can do when you linger. Another thing you can do is just stop. And this is generally what you might do during meditation, for example. You just realize, okay, I'm thinking I'm out of control here. You catch yourself, stop, and don't think about anything. Don't bliss out. Just stop completely. Stop completely. Just stop. And this is how you gain control of your unconscious rambling, right? It's a process. You do it over time. The third thing you can do, and this is really important to understand, you can bliss out. You can think of nothing. That's perfectly fine. But the other thing you can do is just focus on what you're doing. Like, for example, as an athlete, when they get a moment of clarity, it's called being in the flow. And you want to stay in that flow for as long as you possibly can. If I'm at work and I'm in a productive flow and I have a moment of clarity, I'm going to continue in my productive flow. Do you ever notice that you have 8 hours at work? You probably get everything you get done in about the 20 minutes of productive time. You get this 20, 30 minutes of productive time that accounts really for 90% of what you do. You want to learn to stay in the flow for as long as possible, whether it's work, whether it's sports, whether it's thinking through the idea that just came into your mind, just let it flow. Don't interrupt it. Just let it go. See where that goes down. Grab your journal. Just start writing. Just keep flowing and flowing and flowing. This is a really important skill. What I'm saying, the words I'm saying are so simple. The concept is so simple. This is a very highly enlightened teaching. Stop wordifying everything and learn to recognize the clarity. Learn to relax. Learn to milk the moment for as long as you can. Learn to make this your default. because that's really the goal. Not to do it once, not to do it today or tomorrow, but to open that inner world all the time. Does that make sense? So those are the first two steps on the path. Simple. So let's look at this in terms of micro challenges. Okay? Challenge yourself and write this down if you have a pencil and paper. I challenge myself to have moments of clarity. I challenge myself. I'm going to do it tonight when we hang up from the Zoom. I'm also going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to report back how many times I did it. I'm just going to try to increase the number of moments of clarity. Now, when I challenge you to do this, I'm not challenging you, you're challenging yourself. What you're doing is creating a new habit. This happens to be an enlightened habit. This is going to help you find inner peace and balance and abundance. So you want to establish a new habit. And the way you establish a new habit is you say, okay, I'm intentionally going to do this. I'm going to document, I'm going to write it down. I've got an accountability partner online. We'll talk about our online community in a minute. Maybe towards the end, but we'll talk about that. But I've got someone I'm accountable to. I'm going to report to them. I'm going to get better at this by Saturday. I'm going to do it 20 times in the day. I'm just going to get better and better and better. The goal is not today, tomorrow, the next day. The goal is for the rest of your life to establish a connection with your inner world as the default, to be a balanced person as the default. This is the goal. Everything we talk about on the path of balance is to learn to balance yourself. And when I say be a balanced person, I don't just mean be under control of your thoughts, be in control of your breath. That's just the beginning. That's how you establish the balance. From there, the balance needs to go out to every part of your life, all parts of your life, so that you're balanced. Yeah, I feel balanced in my meditation, but then when I go to work, I'm in, crazy town. I'm not balanced. So you can't do that. Well, that's going to happen, but the goal is for you to get better at that. The goal is to find your initial state of balance and then expand that balance to all aspects of your life. And the way you do that is by developing the habit of disengaging, of creating moments of clarity. For example, how do you create a moment of clarity? I'll give you an example. Every time I trigger myself, right? So I set myself up for success. Every time I get in my car and I put my hands on the steering wheel, that is a reminder to disengage. Just relax, not close my eyes because I'm driving. I'm not going to close my eyes. I'm just disengaging. And I'm using my inner sight to enjoy the experience of driving. I was in an intersection a couple of weeks ago, 2 miles from my house. I was disengaged. I swear it was the first time I'd been at that intersection. I started to notice all these different stores. I never saw them before. I never saw that. I never noticed that at all. Well, of course not, because you're on autopilot. You're just everything's going in your mind. So if you learn to disengage, I set it up so that now every time I remember, sometimes I don't remember, but sometimes I remember, my hands are on the steering wheel, diaphragmatic breath, relax, disengage. Let's linger in this for a little while. Now, and by the way, you're a better driver when you're paying attention. When you're not rambling to yourself, you're actually a more aware driver. So it's not a dangerous thing. The other cool thing, I kind of skipped over the inner sight thing. We're going to do a meditation in a minute that's going to use inner sight. But inner sight works with your eyes open. You can put your mind inside your body, or you can think of ideas with your eyes closed. It's called inner sight. But you can also do the exact same thing with your eyes open. I'll show you a meditation where you go inside your body. You can do it with your eyes open and still see or imagine that you see inside your body. Does that make sense? Disengaging and lingering. There are three kinds of lingering. You can bliss out and just enjoy it for as long as you want to enjoy it until the next thought. Believe me, the next thought's coming. Don't worry about it. don't worry about your unconscious mind. It's just fine. It's going to pick back up whenever it's ready. So just bliss out and enjoy it for as long as you can. Number two, blank out. Just think of nothing, absolutely nothing. No thoughts. And number three, just get into a flow. Whatever you're doing. If I'm doing the laundry, I'm going to flow with the laundry. If I'm cooking and I have a moment of clarity while I'm cooking, I'm going to try to maintain that the whole time. try to maintain the moment of clarity, set the dishes exactly, serve it to my wife, just like a restaurant, man. I'm on point because I'm focused. I'm focused on what I'm doing. Or if you're at work and you have a productive flow, you have this moment of clarity and you're in a productive flow, keep going. Just keep going. Sports, all that stuff. So that all makes sense. It's really important that you understand those two things. All right. The third step on the path to balance, and this is where a lot of people fail or fall. I don't know. I like the word fail because you can always try again. A lot of people fall down in developing a regular morning and evening meditation routine. This is essential. You have to establish a morning routine and an evening routine. Morning, night, morning, night, morning, night. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tock. You have to create this habit. You have to create this rhythm because even though in the beginning you're not going to want to meditate, you're going to forget, oh, what a dummy, I forgot to do my morning meditation because you're not in a rhythm yet, right? But you have to establish the rhythm. Why? Because mind will start to pick up on that rhythm and will start to now help you in the habit. Creating habits is essential. And so one of the harder things to do. So you have to learn to create this morning and evening routine until it becomes a habit. Then you become one of those people that couldn't, in 3 months, you won't even imagine starting your day without a meditation routine. Like the whole day is going to go wrong unless you do it. You wouldn't imagine, like I can't imagine going to bed without relaxing and doing my little routine at night. I can't imagine it. In the beginning, I'd always forget it because, oh man, I forgot it. What a dummy. I made a mistake. You've got to get yourself into this routine because this is where you will anchor yourself. In the morning, you're going to get a good start to your day. In the evening, you're going to get a good end to your day. Whatever happened in the middle, if you did morning and night, that's a check. That's a +1 day. Whatever happened in the middle, however messed up your day might have been, don't worry about it. If you morning and evening, you're in good shape. So that's the third step on the path. Let me give you a couple of pieces of advice about your meditation routine. Number one, don't make it just about meditating. You want to stretch. You want to breathe. You want to, do some side, whatever your thing is. If you like to dance, you want to dance. If you like to sing, you want to sing. It's several things. Your routine is not just meditating because that's too much pressure. Because what if you don't feel like meditating that day? Or what if you only meditate for a minute and then something interrupts? You want to stretch. I stretch my shoulders. I do a spinal stretch. I stretch to the side. I rotate I do a whole stretch. I do an energy massage all over my body, my head, my face. I give myself like an energy bath every morning. In the evening, I also take deep breaths. I take 3 deep breaths. That's part of my routine. And then I want to sit down and meditate. And then I'm in a better frame of mind to meditate for a longer period of time. So don't make it only about meditating. That puts just too much pressure on that one point, and it's a breaking point. You don't want to break your routine. You want to do your routine. So don't make it only about meditation. When you're meditating, when you actually sit down to meditate, we're gonna go through a breath exercise, which you're going to use all the time, morning and night, and you're also going to use it while you're blissing out while you're lingering in your moments of clarity. I'm going to show you a breath technique. Okay. We're going to do that in a minute. While you're meditating, so we're actually sitting down, my eyes are closed, and now I'm in my meditation part. I'm in the meditation part of my routine. Oh, by the way, in my evening routine, if you're taking notes, I also have a couple of books bookmarked right to the page I want. So I'll sit down before I start to meditate. I'll just open the book because I know that's going to put me in the right mood. This is all part of the routine. All right. While you're meditating, you want to do 3 and 8, 3 and 8. And if you're good, you want to do 3 and 8 again. 3 means you want to do something 3 times. So for example, let's say before I start my starting thing, I have lots of things that I can do at 3. We'll teach you those things. The one I'm going to teach you in a minute is an 8. You want to do that one 8 times, but you want to start with something you do 3 times. So for example, diaphragmatic breath. So until I'm all relaxed, when I'm finally relaxed, or I'll start and realize I'm not relaxed, diaphragmatic breath. I'm going to just do 3 of those. 3. Then the next thing I'm going to do is 8, which I'll show you the meditation that I use. But when that's done, do a 3 of something else. I use like a heart expanding breath. Like my heart, when I breathe, I picture the light in my heart going out across all the whole universe and then right back into my heart. I do that 3 times. Is everyone perfect? No, because sometimes a thought randomly comes in and messes me up. But as long as I do 2 out of 3, good. And then there's no reason you can not do more. You can do more of those if you want. But I'm just telling you 3 and 8. Just keep that in your head. And then you do 8 of something else. So when you see people who are meditating for 45 minutes or an hour and a half, they're not thinking of nothing. Trust me, they're not thinking of nothing. They have a very specific routine in their head that they go through. And having that routine will be very helpful. And we can, in our discussion group, in our community, we can start putting down, what do you do 3 of? What do you do 8 of? Because I have several different kind of breaths that I do. Does that make sense? So when you actually sit down to meditate, here's the plan. I'm going to do 3 of this and 8 of that. Make sense? All right. Ready to do a meditation? All right. So those of you who've been in the Sunday class, you'll know this, this meditation, but all right, just relax. Just relax, find your diaphragm and find all your stress points. Just let all the stress, my stress usually is from my head right to my shoulders, my jaw. That's where you want to relax. Just let it all dissolve and dissipate. I'm going to show you this breath. I'm going to show you, we're only going to do 2 or 3 of it. Then we're going to do the full thing. We're going to do 3 diaphragmatic breaths and then 8 of this one, but I'll teach you this one first. There are 2 elements. I've studied 6 enlightenment systems. There are 2 things that they all have in common. Number 1 is inner sight, the ability that we were never taught that we can actually have another sight. We can, while we're looking at something, I could be thinking, seeing something else. While my eyes are open, I can actually see inside my own body. Okay. While I'm brushing my teeth, you ever get the sensation while you're brushing your teeth, like you can see your actual teeth? Right? Like it's a distorted sensation. It's not really what they look like, but you can actually, while you're brushing your teeth, you feel it there. Your tongue has inner sight. You have inner sight. It's an ability, a skill that you have. It's never been developed or explained to you. So we're going to develop our inner sight along all of these paths. We're going to use inner sight. So that's the first thing that every enlightenment system has in common. The second thing that every system has in common is the central channel, the teaching of the central channel. So we're all somewhat advanced here, so I'm assuming there's no beginners, and most of you have been through the meditation class. You have inside your body an energy system. It would be more accurate to call yourself an energetic being than a physical being, because the physicality just wraps itself around the energy structure. And your energy structure is anchored along your spine. Right in front of your spine, there are 7 chakras. There are some people that say you have 14 chakras, 12, 8, 6, whatever you want to say. I say 7. Doesn't really matter. There's the root chakra, right at the very tip, right at your tailbone, right at the tip of your spine, the sacral chakra, which is running your sacral bone, the solar plexus chakra, which is just below your navel. So by the time you get to your belly button, you've already have 3 chakras. There's the heart chakra, the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, and the crown chakra, which is half in your head and half out of your head. Then there's another one, which is, might call it the light chakra. We're going to use that one too. So what I want you to do is I want you to imagine, you can close your eyes for this. I want you to imagine a ball of light in your root chakra at the base of your spine. And I want you to imagine that as you breathe in, as air enters your lungs, that ball of light starts to rise through the chakras and gently tickle the chakras. Chakras are spinning. Your energy spins like that. They gently tickle the chakras, and that you keep inhaling nice and gentle, and you'll go all the way through your crown chakra to about 15 inches above your head. You're going to draw a circle, and you're going to put the number 1. And then when you exhale slowly, that ball of light goes right through your crown and bathes your chakra system all the way back down to your root. And I want you to use your inner sight to see this ball of light. And I also want to see if you can feel very tickly undulations as the light goes through the chakras. So we'll do that. We'll do it to a count of three. I want you to notice when you're doing that exercise, I want you to notice that the thoughts don't come because you're giving your mind something to think about. You're proactively concentrating on the ball of light rising through your chakras, drawing the number one, drawing the number two, feeling the light flow down, bathing the chakras. You can even give like a little moan, like, oh my God, it feels so good when that light comes back down into my head and it just runs all the way, just bathes my whole energy system in light. Mm. Mm. I want you to do the same thing. We can do it to a count of three also. I want you to do that same exact meditation, but this time you can actually do it with your eyes open. And your inner sight works just as well, whether your eyes are open or closed. So I'm going to do three more with my eyes open. This is going to be a staple of your morning routine. We're going to do 8 of these every morning and 8 of them every night. And this is really important because slowly you're activating your energy system. And this is both a visual experience and a feeling experience. You want to feel the light. You're inviting the light into your body. You're inviting it to massage your energy system. You're inviting it to come back down and bathe your whole energy system. Oh, it's such a beautiful feeling. So it's both a visual thing and a feeling. As Lu Dongbing says in The Secret of the Golden Flower, this is called circulating the light. Circulating the light without feeling it is circulating without feeling. Feeling the light without circulating it, like having this beautiful moment of clarity, feeling the light, but then not circulating it, that doesn't lead to inner radiance. So the path to inner radiance is to both feel the light, invite it into your body, and circulate it. Enlightenment's really simple when you break it down. It's like, well, why didn't anyone ever tell me that? It's not complicated. There's nothing complicated about it. It's just a beautiful thing. Um, it sounds complicated because you got to study for 30 years to get the secrets, but you really don't. The secrets are pretty straightforward. Is that helpful? And don't get wrapped up in what you do with your hand. You don't have to hold them like this. If you want to, you can. Those are all outer things. Those are all outer things. The only piece of advice I would give you is don't put your hands far forward when you're sitting. Keep your elbows back so you don't lean towards you're not getting pulled forward. Just keep your elbows back. It's okay. You don't have to be perfectly straight. You don't have to have your legs in a low. All those are outer things. We're just bathing our energy system. We're activating our chakra system. That's all we're doing. And it doesn't matter. The outer things don't matter. We're focusing on the inner. Don't worry about what are some other things? One thing I will say is don't pull it in. That's a whole different exercise. This one is just really gentle. You barely know you're breathing. In truth, in the Buddhists who would do this, or the Taoists, would do this 108 times. Where I'm doing it, I do it 8 times. They would do it 108 times every morning and every night. So when you're in the park watching your grandkids and they're playing, you have this little moment of bliss. What a beautiful day. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Look at the trees. Look at kids are happy. I'm happy. I'm so blessed. This is so wonderful. I'm so grateful. Let me take a couple of these central channel breaths too. Add this to your routine throughout the day. The more you do this, I have one vow that I made to myself years ago. One vow. I will make gentle flow in the central channel and part of my everyday life. I don't have to make the vow anymore because now it's a habit. I couldn't go an hour without doing it. But it's a very healthy thing to do because tickles, it activates your chakra system. A question. Yeah, with each breath. So your first breath in, you just draw the circle, the number one, let it flow back through you, bathe all your chakras as it flows down. And what you're really doing, by the way, when you're activating your energy system, is you're also clearing out, well, you're clearing out the channel. You're removing any obstructions, energetic obstructions, and you're also allowing the light to the energy to flow through all of the channels. In Tibetan Buddhism, you have 72,000 energy channels. In Indian Vedic teachings, you have 350,000 channels. It doesn't matter how many channels you have, because when your central channel is activated, you also want to experience that the light, the energy is getting all around. So you change, every time one, and then you exhale, and then when you go up for the second time, you put the number 2, 3, and you don't have to do the number. You could just count on your fingers if you want, or prayer beads, whatever you want, or just make it a ball of light and just get lost in it, and don't worry how many times you do it. Like I said, anything that the Buddhists do, particularly Tibetan Buddhists, anything that they did was always 108 times. But I don't have that kind of time. Well, actually, I do, but I resist. Something inside me resists doing anything 108 times. Maybe I'm not peaceful and balanced as I like to think I am. Does that make sense? So disengage, just let the train of thoughts leave, stop that, bliss in it, enjoy it, flow in it, or just be silent in it. Those are the first two steps, disengage and linger. The second is you must have a morning and evening meditation routine. Don't pin everything on the meditation, because then you'll feel bad if you don't feel like doing it. Stretch, breathe, read a little bit, relax, and then sit down and meditate. And before you sit and meditate, get yourself perfectly comfortable, ready, and then you're going to do 3 of something. It could be as simple as 3 diaphragmatic breaths, and then 8 central channels. You could do 3 heart expansion breaths. You could do anything you want, right? I have other things. I'll show you another thing some other time that I use for the 3. But whatever 3 things, it could be 3 pieces of advice to yourself that you're just running through your head. Just do 3 and 8, 3 and 8, good to go. If you want to do 3 and 8 again, and 3 and 8 again, or after you do it, maybe you just freestyle and just do something you've always wanted to think about or meditate about, or go back to whatever it is you like to meditate about. 3 and 8, 3 and 8, and either stop, freestyle, or just keep going with 3s and 8s. Just keep going, or I just do 3 and 8, 3 and 8. Done. If I feel like I'm done, I'm done. Sometimes I just bliss out. I just feel really good. I just think about stuff. Sometimes I'll do another 3 and 8 sequence. Does that make sense? The goal is to make it easy for yourself. The goal is to make it comfortable, feeling good, not like a thing you have to do. See, the problem with meditation, the way it's taught, I won't give the full rant, but the problem with the way meditation is taught is the first thing they teach you to do is to quiet your mind. You can't do that. Most people have been studying Buddhism, transcendental meditation, 30, 40 years. They can't do that. They can't. And some people, 1 out of 1,000 people can do it after a few years. That's a very advanced topic, but they put it right in the beginning. And what it does is it makes you feel like you failed at it. And that's not fun. I don't want to fail at it. This should be easy. It should be fun. It should be enjoyable. It should be healthy, right? I should be doing something that's good for me. I should want to do something that's good for me. But you feel like a fail. Oh, you have to give up all attachments. What? I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my grandkids. I like college football. I like a good movie on Netflix. I don't want to give up my attachments. No, I'm okay. I don't want to get attached, to it. I don't want to lose, get all devolved into my attachments and, have all sorts of psychological problems. But I like the things in this world. We were born into this. We chose this incarnation to be here, to experience this. This is utopia. We live in utopia. The world is designed just for us. This is our world. Why should we give it up? Well, I don't like that. So that again makes people feel like they're failing. Or there's a correct way, a correct posture, a correct way to hold your hands. Your eyes have to be like this, and all that stuff. Those are all outer things. And if there's a correct way, then the teacher holds all the power, and the other 999 people aren't doing it right. And the teacher can say, "Well, you're not enlightened because you're just not doing it right." The teacher shouldn't have any power. This is your power. You already are enlightened. You already are a being of light. You already have energy flowing through your body. You're already healthy. You're already happy. You're already abundant. It's all on the inside. Don't let anyone tell you that meditation is the goal isn't meditation. Meditation is just a doorway. You open the door, let it go, and now you explore your inner world. It's just a tool to get you inside your inner world. When you go to a party, you don't open the door and stare at the door for 30 minutes. That's what people do with meditate. Oh, I have to meditate. Like it's a big thing. So oh, am I doing this right? Am I doing this well? Read books on it and the whole thing. I meditation. Oh, I'm not good at meditation. They're just staring at the freaking door. Walk into the inner world. It's all yours. It's just a doorway. Don't get wrapped up in it. Don't let a teacher tell you how to do it. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not doing it right. There's a million ways to meditate. I just gave you one that's the easiest, most natural way. And then it's really helpful. 3-8-3-8. You'll find that that's really, really helpful when you remember that when you sit down, because now you have a plan. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take 3 diaphragmatic breaths. Then I'm going to take 8 central channel breaths. Then I'm going to do 3 of something else, 8 of something else, or maybe 8 more central channel breaths. Then I can stand up, or if I feel like I can keep going and going, I can, like I said, freestyle, think about something else, go back to an old meditation, pick up a book and read it. You ever like pick up a book and just like read something beautiful, and then you just close the book, keep your finger in it, keep your finger in the book, you just close it and bliss out? That's meditating. That counts. That counts. So, all right. So in these Wednesday sessions, I'm going to just continue to push on till we get to the end. It might take us several weeks or a month or two to get through this. But today I want to talk about the 4th element in the path of balance. And this is really, really important. It's the art of cooperation. There's 2 things I want to talk about when it comes to cooperation. Number 1 is you can't really do this by yourself. If you're just a free electron out there reading your own books, doing this, that, the other thing, you're going to randomly bump into some good insights. You'll randomly have some realization. But to be on a real program of enlightenment, you need to be surrounded by other people. You don't have to be doing the exact same thing that they're doing. They could be doing, their thing. You're doing your thing. But just being with other people that are on the same path is essential. And again, I'm not telling you have to. Most people who talk to me or even go to the meditation, they never talk to me again. They do exactly the opposite of what I say. They go out on their own. But we've created a community, the Abundant Thinking community, where you can surround yourself in the morning, say, hey, good morning, everyone. Here's what I plan to do. Hey, I had a great meditation session this morning. Here's what I plan to do later today. You'll find an accountability partner. You can just immerse yourself around people that want you to be healthy. Instead of surrounding yourself with people that don't want you to be healthy, don't want you to be happy, keep shoving donuts at you. Come on, have a donut. Come on, do this. Come on, do that. Come on, let's all that stuff. We don't want people like that. Now, if they're your friends or your family, you can't get rid of your own family, right? But the truth is, if that's not working for you, if they're not pushing you up, you need to find people that are lifting you up. You can't do this yourself. So you've got to find cooperation. I call it cooperation. It's community is another word for it. You have to find a community of like-minded people. Now, let me tell you the real reason that we're here. The real reason that we're here. And it has to do with this idea of cooperation. There's something called group manifestation. Group manifestation, or another word would be called group enlightenment, or another word would be called enlightened cooperation. But we'll just call it group manifestation. This is really important to understand. You probably, I don't know if any of you have anyone ever heard of a city in India called Ayodhya? Ayodhya.
Ayodhya, right? It is, okay, yes.
Yeah, it's in northern India. It's a city in northern India. It has a distinction among all places on the earth. It is the longest populated place. It actually predates the Egyptian civilization. 7,000 some years ago, a king or a prince by the name of Rama, I'm not an expert in the Bhagavad Gita, but a prince by the name of Rama lived in Ayodhya. part of the Bhagavad Gita was written about people who lived in Ayodhya. It's an ancient, ancient, ancient city. Certainly goes back 7,000 years, probably goes back 15,000 years, and who knows how much before that. It's what's called an enlightened city. It's an enlightened place. It still exists today. It's still a thriving, friendly city. Northern India suffered a lot of damage to its culture, aside from the British imperialism, which I don't really think reached Northern India, but I'm sure it did. The real damaging part of the history of Ayodhya was in the 1100s, 1200s, 1300s, when the Muslims invaded Northern India. And so even to this day, Ayodhya is a Muslim Hindu place, but they live in peace. They live in peace. And there's actually a very ancient temple that the Muslims try to, claim as a Muslim temple. The Hindus claim it's a Hindu temple, etc. But this place of Ayodhya, you can look it up. It's a real place. It's an enlightened city. It was built on the idea of group manifestation. Everybody in Ayodhya, I don't know about Ayodhya today, but I know Ayodhya as recently, say, as 600-700 years ago, 1400, 1500, was an enlightened city. And everyone in Ayodhya has the same values. They're taught publicly. This is what we talk about in our world has nothing to do with inner values and principles. What we talk about is everything else except what's truly important, our inner values and principles. In Ayodhya, and they're not the only place, but they're the best example. In Ayodhya, people talk about their inner values and principles. They share it. It's a community about enlightenment. It's a community about enlightenment. And it's called group manifestation or enlightened cooperation. Now, they're not the only ones. I'll just briefly digress. There's, if anyone knows the history of Thailand, before it was called Thailand, it was called Ayutthaya, I believe, Ayutthaya. And it was named after Ayodhya. So there was this was in 1351. The nation of Ayutthaya was formed. There was a guy, a Chinese trader from a rich family, and he would travel the Silk Road. And he traveled the Silk Road, and way off the Silk Road is Ayodhya. So at some point he went to visit Ayodhya, and he was so impressed with what he found in the 1300s that he actually went back, got a group of followers, and said, "We're going to start our own country. We're going to call it Ayutthaya in honor of Ayodhya." And he started this country in 1351, this unexplored, well, there were some people there, but it wasn't really populated. Took the whole jungle that's now Thailand, from mountains all the way down to the Gulf of Thailand, and formed a new country based on enlightened principles, based on enlightened cooperation, based on group manifestation. They actually worked together to talk. It was founded on this. It was founded on this principle of inner values: honesty, trust, truth, compassion, caring for everyone in the community. These were the things that were spoken about. These were the things that were taught. Our society's the opposite. It's hard to imagine a society like that, because growing up in a society like that, you would have had a whole different life. Everything would be beautiful, everything would be great, everything would be wonderful, because you'd be surrounded by everyone you look at, all shares the same values, all shares the same national goals, right? Our country is exactly the opposite and always has been. So that our founding, anyway, so there's that. So what they had in Ayodhya, and what I believe they still have, is pure enlightenment wisdom, pure enlightenment. But they did it not by studying books. They did it by creating a culture, a society of enlightened people, a society of enlightenment. Group manifestation, community values. The more people that you get on this same track, the more power you're able to generate. See, if you go, if you go and you go do your enlightened thing, and you put out little molecule of enlightenment, well, that's your random molecule of enlightenment. I put out mine, he puts out hers, and we just have a bunch of random things. When we can connect as a community, when we can cooperate, enlightened cooperation, we can actually enhance our own power. So my enlightenment helps your enlightenment. Our enlightenment helps the next person, helps the next person, helps the next person. And so I developed this abundant thinking community exactly for the reason to create power among people that normally don't have power. See, the people like me, people like you, people that study this stuff, we're not power oriented. We don't try to grab things, push people out of the way, step on. We just don't do that because it's not what we do, right? Maybe you did it in the past, but you're on this path to enlightenment. So we don't have power generally. Generally, enlightened people are just, off to the margins of society. But it only takes a few hundred people. If we can get a few hundred people all think of it like a bicycle, right? The first time you pedal, it's really, really hard. The second time, it's really hard. Third time, and then it's easy. Then the bicycle rides itself, right? Think about that first push. If it's just you pushing, it's going to take a lot of pushing. If it's just me pushing, but if all of us push that pedal, we can get it to move. Now we got 10 of us pedaling, 100 of us pedaling, 1,000 of us pedaling. We can accomplish incredible things. Incredible things. So I'm really, really happy you're here, and I want to honor the fact that you're here. I also need you to be in the abundant thinking community, but not just be there, be present. Say good morning, say good night. If you're really, really busy, just say good morning and good night. Check in a few times a day. Explain what's going on with you. Help somebody else if they have a question. Offer to be somebody's accountability partner. Participate in the community. It seems silly to do now because there's only a few people in there, but you have to think long term. Once we get 100 people in there, 300 people, 500 people, I was talking to Scott the other day. Once we get 300, 400, 500 people in there, we will have power, something that we don't have individually. Now we have our own individual power. I have power to change myself. What else really matters? I understand that. The power to change myself is what changes the world. I get that. But when we put this together, and there are societies that were built on this principle. So I'm creating like a virtual society where we all, or a virtual organization or a virtual association, whatever you want to call it, where we all have the same principles. We all have the same goals. I want to surround myself with people that want to be healthy, that want to become enlightened, that want to be better parents, that want to be compassionate, that want to be good things, people that are going to help me grow, people that I can help grow, people that we can give to and share with and take from and kind of just build this community. So this is my vision. I hope that you're here and you're spending, time tonight here, and I appreciate that. Let's do something with this power, because I'll just digress very briefly. Power and money are the same thing. Okay. People that have power don't care about money. They already have plenty of money. They don't care about money. They care about power. People who have money don't care about power because they have power. They have the power of money. Power and money are the same thing. As individuals, we don't really have any power. We just have the power of one. When we have the power of 100, the power of 500, the power of 1,000, the power of 10,000, I say this not for any other thing than it's true, we can print our own money. And I'm not saying that's why you want to join the community, but I'm just saying power and money are the same thing. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm going to read. First of all, let me pause and let me stop there. Somebody put something in the chat. Let's read that. Okay. Let's pause for a second. Any comments, questions, thoughts? Anybody want to share? All right. Got a lot of talkative people. I could see that.
Hi, I'm here today.
Hi, Giovanna.
How are you?
I'm good.
I'll put my camera on, but I'm just like walking to the laundromat.
I can hear you, but we have a hard time understanding you. Sound like you're in a fishbowl.
Oh, let me take my headphones off. One sec. Let me see.
Much
Can
better.
you hear me better now?
Much better. Yeah, go ahead.
1 second. Let's see. Okay. Let me see. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was in Sunday's group, and I just wanted to tell you that your description of the meditation being like Central Park really helps me a lot. I've been meditating for like 10 years or plus, and I'm also an artist. So I've kind of always seen it as this like inner outer thing, but that was a really great analogy for me to take with me. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning it.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you. And thanks for being here. Scott, you unmuted.
I did. I didn't mean to. I apologize.
All right. Anyone else have a comment?
I do appreciate you, Alan, and I love this group. This is a great start.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for saying that. Appreciate you. Anybody else? Because I have more, so we'll just keep going. If anyone else wants to say, okay, fine. You'll have more opportunities. I'm going to read a chapter, a relevant chapter about just what we were talking about. You're not going to think it's about what we were talking about, but I'll show you when I'm finished, from the Cycle of Mind. I'm going to teach next week. I'm going to go much more in depth into this book. Particularly, I'm going to explain the thought matrix, but I want to give a week because I know a lot of people have just ordered the book and they haven't gotten it, or they literally just got it today. So on next Wednesday, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this book, The Cycle of Mind. I'm going to, as I said, particularly talk about the thought matrix. But there's one chapter in here. It's called, I only have three chapters dog-eared, and this is one of them. The Origin of Life. Where did life come from? So I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but I do want to give you a sense that, just so you get a sense of the time, 13 billion years ago, 13 billion with a B, that was when the Big Bang. So scientists generally agree that was the beginning of what we know as the universe. I have my own thoughts on that, but I don't want to debate that right now. So I'm just going to pick up in the middle here. So just remember 13 billion years ago. Well, 4.5 billion years ago, 4.6 billion years ago, the sun formed as it is today. So it's one of the later stars. Stars started to form about 10 billion years ago, but about 4.6 billion years ago, our sun formed. And about 100 million years after that, the Earth, which had just been a fiery blob, just fire, circling around the sun, was just a fiery blob. But 4.5 billion years ago, the Earth's crust cooled and started to look somewhat like what it looks today. So I'm going to read. Obviously, there was no life on Earth at that time. The Earth had just been a burning glob of lava. And before that, the Earth was really nothing more than 9 billion years of floating gas and dust. But now that the planet had formed and cooled, the atmosphere around this newly made planet was poisonous and toxic. Mostly carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia, and water vapor. There was no oxygen in the atmosphere when the Earth was first formed. And as the Earth cooled down, most of the water vapor condensed and formed the oceans, and what was left in the atmosphere was a poisonous brew of carbon dioxide, ammonia, and methane. In this, for 1 billion years, after the Earth was formed, for 1 billion years, there was no life on Earth. It was just poisonous. Around 3.5 billion years ago, the first life appeared on land. You wouldn't even recognize it as life. You wouldn't even call it life. These were microscopic cells, primitive cells. They didn't even have a nucleus. They were called prokaryotic cells, the most primitive microscopic single-celled organism you could possibly imagine. They're called cyanobacteria, cyano for poison, bacteria. They were tiny microscopic bacteria that could live in a poisonous environment, cyanobacteria. The atmosphere on Earth was toxic and could not have supported life, but these microscopic cyanobacteria had a unique characteristic. They could receive nourishment from methane and carbon dioxide and give off a molecule of oxygen. They had a lifespan, maybe a few days. In a poisonous atmosphere, these microscopic cells absorb the tiniest little microscopic amounts of methane and carbon dioxide, and they gave off one little tiny molecule of oxygen into this hostile atmosphere. For another 2.5 billion years, these microscopic prokaryotes were the only life on land. So if you're doing the math, life didn't even start on the Earth until 1 billion years ago, right? Then one day, about 1 billion years ago, something happened. This is important. 1 billion years ago, the amount of oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere rose until it reached 21%. That's the level of oxygen in the atmosphere today. For billions of generations, these selfless, rudimentary, one-celled organisms, these cyanobacteria, had finally made a noticeable impact on the atmosphere, one molecule of oxygen at a time. From that moment on, multi-celled plant life began to form, and over the next 400 million years, plant life spread across the planet in an infinite variety of forms. So now it's 500 million years ago. Plant life is spread all across the globe in infinite variety. And then something else happened. It's called the Cambrian explosion. Very primitive amoeba-like life began to appear on land that could gain its nourishment from the oxygen in the atmosphere and the microscopic nutrients from decaying plants. From this single-celled amoeba, faster and faster, life started to accelerate and become more and more complex until 250 million years after the first amoeba, the Earth saw dinosaurs, tiny mammals, and then 200 million years after that, the first primates appeared. That was 50 million years ago. Then only 20 million years ago, the great apes appeared. And then 2.8 million years ago, humans appeared. Cyanobacteria paved the way for all life on our planet today. For 3 billion years, these microscopic, single-celled, selfless heroes worked one life at a time to add one molecule of oxygen to a poisonous atmosphere. So I chose that chapter to tie back to what I was just talking about, cooperation. We have the ability to live in a poisonous atmosphere, not physically poisonous, but mentally poisonous. We live in a mentally poisonous atmosphere. And each one of us has the ability to create one little molecule of enlightenment, one little molecule of enlightenment every day, one little molecule of enlightenment. This is the point why we have to work together, because I create my molecule, it goes off, you create your molecule, it goes off, everyone does their own thing, and it just dissipates. If we can concentrate our effort, we're like cyanobacteria. We take this poisonous environment that we live in and we convert it to one little molecule of light, one molecule of enlightenment, one molecule of oxygen. I happen to believe that when 21% of the planet becomes enlightened, which is a very realistic goal, that's only about 1.6 billion people, certainly can do that. When 21% of the population of the planet becomes enlightened, the whole world will change, and the change will be at such an accelerated pace that we'll not know even what happened, right? Am I optimistic that that's going to happen? I'm a little worried that it might not happen, but that's not my job, right? I'm a cyanobacteria. I'm just one little thing. All I can do, I can't change the world. All I can do is put out my little one molecule of enlightenment. That's the best I can do. And then I can show you how to put out yours, and we can do it together and together. Now, I also believe long before we get to 1.6 billion people, long before we get to that point, that more enlightened things will start to happen. So I believe, and I'm optimistic, I do believe that we can change the course of humanity. I do believe that that's possible. It is not possible with each one of us sitting in our homes, doing our own thing, reading our own books, doing our own little thing, bumping randomly into a piece of, good knowledge. We have to work together. And I'm not holding myself out as perfect in any stretch of the way. And I show you 7 paths to enlightenment. There may be 7 more, there may be 70 more, and I'm open to that, right? But all I can do is do my morning meditation, disengage, linger, breathe through my central channel, create my own light, change my own wavelength so that my wavelength is not disrupting and destroying, so that my wavelength is peaceful and nurturing and growing, and all of us can do that. So think of yourselves, think of this, like some people say, like, what's the point? What does it matter? That's why it matters. Because if everybody says, what's the point? Why does it matter? Nothing will ever change. But if you have a vision in mind, a picture in mind of what the world can be, we can actually start like it's a bicycle. The first pedal's not easy, man. You're going to have to push. And then the second one's not easy. And the third one's not easy. But when you get enough people pushing, bouncing on the trampoline in the same direction, we can do anything. I am absolutely convinced about the power of numbers. We can do anything that we want as long as we're guided, at least as long as I'm alive, guided by enlightened values and principles. What kind of enlightened values and principles am I talking about? I'm talking about thoughtfulness, generosity, compassion, health, lifting other people up, self-reliance, finding a purpose, a motivating purpose that's aligned with our values. That's how we can reframe our own inner self to become the kind of person that we want to be. So that's what I wanted to share with you, that there are two reasons why I put the art of cooperation into the path of balance. Let me go back to that slide. There are two reasons why I put that in there. Number one is because you really can't get to a full higher conscious enlightenment on your own. Maybe you can, but still you're in your own echo chamber. It's really not helpful. You want to be part of a community. And the second thing is, inside this community, we have the ability to build a more and more powerful rhythm, a more and more powerful wavelength of peace and compassion and love and lifting other people up and giving people a boost, really healing. We have the ability to do that. And everybody's on their own journey, right? So you get, 10 enlightened people together and they're like a bunch of cats. This one wants to, world peace. This one wants to help animals. But we can do it all, right? So we can do our own thing and we can also do a common theme. So I put the art of cooperation in there because and let me say one other thing too. This isn't my first attempt at this, okay? I was talking to Scott. This is probably my fourth attempt. And I'm in the fourth quarter of my life. I don't know how much juice I have left to do this again and again and again. But each time doesn't work, I just pick myself up and somehow I get the strength to do the whole thing and try again. So here we are. I have somehow figured out how to get a following on TikTok. I worked my ass off. I put up 54 videos in a year. It was a lot of work. It's very distracting. TikTok distracts me from the enlightenment work. It pulls you in. It's not a healthy thing, but I managed to get a following. Now, the other day, Tuesday afternoon, I went on TikTok for an hour and 20 minutes, and I'm starting to get a little bit more comfortable. For those of you in the live stream, I'm starting to get more comfortable. In an hour and 20 minutes, I got 70 new followers, and I had 8 people sign up for Sunday's meditation class. The more people that sign up for the meditation class, the more people will sign up for the meditation class. The more followers we have, the more people. What I really want from you guys, I told you, participate in the community. I'll give you the link if you're not already in it. But number 2, help with the live streams. Go on the live streams, say something positive, engage other people. My goal for the live streams is to get out of this mode where it's me talking for an hour and start, it's also my goal for these Wednesday sessions, and start talking to individual people about their path and their journey and their successes and tell me their story, which is much more interesting than me going from random topic to whoa, what should I talk about now? Well, I'll talk about that one. So I really wanted to make it more organized. But the point is, we now have a platform. Where it's like a trampoline. The first jumps, I've been doing this for a long time. So I started in TikTok in 2022. So you're now seeing 13,000 followers. So we got a little bounce going. The more people we get, the more we can bounce. The more we bounce, the more people we can get. The more people we get, the more we can bounce. This is why I was so, and still am, heartbroken that the United States would even consider banning TikTok, but so be it. We'll do the same thing on YouTube if that would ever happen. But until that happens, we're going, and I'm going to keep getting more and more people to join. We're going to get more and more people every Wednesday night. We're going to get more and more people every Sunday morning. We're going to get more people every Wednesday night, more people every Sunday morning. Once we get to a few hundred people, I kid you not, long before that, once we get to about probably 20 or 25 regular people communicating every day on Discord, we'll start to form an organization, and we'll start to make a plan for the organization. Because I have my own vision, but I really want other people to be involved, to have some responsibilities and to have a voice in where we go. So this is going to be a member-driven organization when we get to that point. Right now, I'm driving it and I'm okay with that. But believe me, I'm not a born leader. I have my own style of leadership, but my own style of leadership is I'm a cat and I just go randomly from thing to thing to thing. And it's very hard for people to follow that. Because, if you were interested in this, I'm not talking about that anymore. Now I jumped over to here. So, but I'll lead in my own way until we get to the point where we really have something to talk about. Is anybody on board for that? And I mean that, like, I mean that. Let's really do this. There's no, we did this. Maybe we can do it. If I don't think I don't think we have time to do it because I want to talk about one more thing. But there is, thank you, Emily. Thank you, Trish. Thank Giovanna. Appreciate you. And the fact that you're here means you are supporting it. So I just need you to create a few new habits. I need you to go to Discord. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to put the link. Here's the link to Discord. I know a lot of you are already in Discord. Where's the chat? This is the link to Discord. And what I want you to do, come on, man. Why do you want to do that? Ah. All right. So the essence of being involved is not just showing up and taking, right? Because I don't mind people do that. A lot of people are going to do that. They're going to just show up and take and not give back. I get that. Then that's okay. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Some people will do that. That's why I do it. I do it so anybody can have it and take it and go live their own life. But I really want you in the community. And I don't just want, and I don't need a lot of time. Don't confuse this with having to spend a lot of time there. Just one comment during the day. I'm having a great day, or I'm having a really tough day. Does anybody have whatever, anything? It's like oxygen in that community. And the more people we get talking, and once you talk for a certain number of times, like once I see that you're involved, I'm going to start inviting you to a private group on Discord, which will eventually be the leadership group. So, and again, well, I don't want to just say it. I've said what I said. Everyone's in. That's great. So there's the link to the Discord community. Do that, and like do this just for yourself. Of course, you're becoming enlightened because you want less stress. You want to be healthier. You want your relationships to better. You want to feel like you have a purpose in life. Those are all great reasons to become enlightened. Another reason to become enlightened is the second part, is to help other people. This is the key, right? If you're not familiar with Discord, you download it on your phone. I use it. I just go to discord.com. I don't use the app I have a Mac. I don't use the app. I just go to discord.com. It's got a great interface. It's easy to understand and navigate. I also use it on my phone. Download the app on your phone, move the app to the first page, and somehow you have to set up in your app, in your phone, notifications. So you see a little 1 or 2 if anybody mentioned you on Discord. So that'll just remind you to go back to Discord. If you have time to watch TikTok videos, you have time to watch television, if you have time to do all that other crap, surely you have time to spend 5 minutes on Discord and keep the conversation going and, keep the light going. So that's the end of my commercial. All right. Next time, next week, just let you know, I'm going to talk about this section here. I'm going to go back to the cycle of mind, and I'm going to specifically talk about the thought matrix. So if you haven't bought the book yet, it would be a good time to buy it. It would also be a really good time to start a journal. This would be a really, really good time to start page 1 of a journal and track your thoughts, your thinking over the next couple of months. All right. The next thing I want to talk about, and we'll talk about health every week. The next thing I want to talk about is the path of health. There are 5 elements that I discuss when I talk about health. And I'm not talking about health like push-ups and sit-ups. I'm talking energetic health at the cellular level. That's what we're shooting for. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. So when we talk about health, there are 5 elements I want you to consider. Number 1 is breathing. That's if health is the center of everything, which I believe it is, breathing is at the center of health. And at the center of breathing is this central channel breath. So you're already right there. The central channel breath is really important. Remember, on the path of balance, we're balancing our breath, but that's just the beginning. We're bringing that balance to all areas of our lives, our parenting, student, worker, husband, wife, all that stuff. We're bringing all of that. But the path of health, health is central. If you've read the cycle of mind, I put health right at the center of everything. It's the center of the thought matrix. And the center of health is breathing. And the center of breathing is the central channel breath. So you're right on the right path. You're already on the path of health. The next elements in health are your posture, very, very important. I'll just share one little factoid. Your head is like a 12-pound bowling ball. When it leans forward, you can feel your spine pull forward. You can feel all the muscles and the tendons in your back get stressed. So you have to learn how to maintain, how to, first of all, find a good posture and then maintain it. We'll talk more about that. Number 3 is energy flow, energy flowing through your body. You recognize, I hope you recognize, that your health is entirely related, is the same thing as your energy flow. When energy is flowing, everything's healthy. If you have, a clogging of, some like, I don't know, arthritis or some calcium or something in your shoulder, the blood can't flow through the shoulder the right way. It's restricted. The energy can't flow through the shoulder the right way. And so there's pain. One way is to take a drug. Another way is to build your energy body and let the energy flow through your shoulder and loosen your shoulder through exercise and all that stuff. Energy is health. Health is energy. They are the exact same thing. So the more you develop your energetic system, which we're going to talk about a lot, the healthier you're going to be. Number 4 is walking. To me, that's what everybody should be walking, at least 20 minutes a day, at least. So that would be about a mile, right? A mile and a half. If you walk, I have a big circle in my thing. It's about 0.8 miles. That's fine. That's what I do every day. And what do I do while I'm there? I disengage, I linger, and I breathe through my central channel. That's what I do when I walk. Or I just have a moment of clarity. I just think about whatever's important on my mind that day, right? I just let go in the flow, right? You've got to walk. You've got to get out of the house. You got to walk, all right? The one we're going to talk about today is food. I have much, much more to say about food, but food is very important. Now, those of you who recognized it, you are correct. All 5 of these are about energy. They're all about energy, but energy flow is a separate thing. But food, most significantly, is about energy. Let me explain what I mean. I am going to give you 3 pieces of advice related to your food. 3 pieces of advice related to food. If it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you, but it does apply to most people. Number 1, eat much better. Get rid of all the processed foods, get rid of all the added sugar, start to understand the source of your food, eat much healthier food, eat much better. Number 1. Number 2, eat much less. Most people eat about, I don't know how to turn that off. Most people eat about twice as much food as they actually need. Well, what you actually need is probably a third of what you eat, but we don't want to starve ourselves. So most people can cut their food consumption in half. Eat much better, eat much less. And this third one, you'll think I'm weird, chew your food much more slowly. If you need a number, 30 times. I grew up in New York. 2 slices and a Coke. I probably had 2 slices and a Coke 1,000 times, 10,000 times. Take the first bite, two chews, next bite, next bite, next bite. Then I'm eating the crust. Then I'm eating the next slice, right? It takes me now, and I do enjoy pizza. I haven't eaten it in a couple of months, but I certainly wouldn't turn it away. There's no added sugar. It would probably take me about 4 to 5 minutes now to eat a slice of pizza, as opposed to 60, 70, 80 seconds. So the one thing is you got to chew your food to a liquidy pulp. And then when you think you're done, chew it some more. Chew it some more. Why? Why, you ask? Because when you swallow your food, and then, by the way, when you swallow it, you'll feel it. If you slow down, you'll feel it right here. And then a few seconds later, it'll go down. Then you pick up your fork and take another bite. And you put down your fork and you chew it into a liquidy pulp. And I don't care if everyone else at the table is talking. I don't care. I don't care what anyone else is doing. I don't care if everyone's already done. It doesn't matter to me. I'm in my own world. right? As Giovanna said, I'm in my own bubble, right? I do me, you do you. Don't worry about what anybody says. Chew your food to a liquidy pulp. Why? Because when we eat processed foods, when we eat added sugar, when we don't chew, when we eat too much and we keep feeding ourselves I mean, we don't need all this food, but we just keep eating it. We just keep eating it. We just keep eating and eating and eating. It's what we do. All of our family traditions are around food. Everything is around food. Everything is around food. You're supposed to eat and eat and eat. We don't need a fraction of that food. When you overeat and when you don't chew your food, what you're doing, remember I said it's about energy. You're taking all the vital energy in your body 24 hours a day, and it's only focusing on digesting your food. And it'll do it. Your body will come through for you. It'll do anything, no matter how much you try to hurt it, your body will heal itself. It will digest the food. It'll do everything that it needs to do. But when you keep eating, it's a never-ending 24-hour cycle. Even while you're sleeping, your body all the energy is spent digesting the food. When you eat less, and you chew your food to a pulp, you put hardly any stress on your digestive system.